Alright guys, so it's been a minute since I've done a terminally online drama slop video, so let's get into it. Now, I want to put out a disclaimer because this video is like tangentially related to like the incredibly complicated and divisive Holy War. Not Israel and Palestine, I'm talking about Ethan Klein and Hasan Piker. And there is a lot of lore to go through with this. So I am not going to be talking about the ins and outs of the Hasan and Ethan Klein drama. What I really want to do here is laser in on Idubbbz, because in my opinion, Idubbbz has proven himself to be a complete hypocrite, a shitty friend, and just kind of a bad person in general. Now let's take a look at what Idubbbz had to say about content cops in his apology video.
I have made some cruel, hurtful content, and I need to acknowledge that, and I'm really sorry that it's taken me this long to acknowledge it. The content I'm talking about specifically are content cop videos and videos where I was just generally criticizing people for very lackluster reasons and, obviously didn't have any accountability online whatsoever on my end. I was morally grandstanding and acting as if I am any better than any of these people that I was making content cop videos on, and I'm not. I'm a human, I'm a real human who makes mistakes, and I make a different set of mistakes than the people I was making videos on, but it doesn't matter. I don't think anyone deserves that level of cruelty or hate.
Jesus Christ, dog, it truly is not that serious. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it's totally fine to not want to be edgy anymore, but at the end of the day, it's just not that serious. I think the better way to go forward is to just make other content, either try to win over your old audience or carve a new path and gain a new one. But at the end of the day, I always thought that was fine. He's moving on, he's getting older, he's maturing, whatever. So color me surprised when Idubbbz decided to bring back the content cop and make it on h3h3. I mean, like we just saw, Idubbbz considers content cops to be cruel and unusual punishment. Nobody is deserving of the awfulness that comes with a content cop. Did Ethan Klein do something so horrible that it warrants that abuse? I mean, I know he's been in some controversies with Hasan over the Israel and Palestine situation. Maybe Ethan Klein's positions on Israel and Palestine are so severe that Idubbbz, he just couldn't stand back. He had to make his voice heard. He really had to denounce Ethan Klein. I mean, that would make some amount of sense, I guess.
Oh yeah, if I ever do that, it's gotta be because I lose the plot. Well, it turns out it's not me losing the plot, it's Ethan. He's the one who fucking attacked first.
My good fucking friends who I stood by after all these fucking years can't find a spine to speak up.
So go fuck yourself.
I agree.
Oh, he's making a content cop because Ethan stopped being friends with him and was mad because he wouldn't defend him? What? Like, Idubbbz does say in the video that he disagrees with Ethan and Hila on Israel and Palestine, but like most of this video is like he said, she said personal drama stuff. How is this a justifiable reason to make a content cop? Again, just to be clear, I don't care that much if you want to make a content cop again, but you denounced it. In what universe do you think you can just come back with a content cop without at least acknowledging that you went overboard in your apology video? But what's even more disgusting about this is that in the original content cop, he does acknowledge it in the content deputy, which we'll get to, but in the original content cop, Ian doesn't give the full story of why Ethan and Hila were mad at him, why they wanted Idubbbz to come to their defense, why they ultimately decided to cut off the friendship. So on the H3 podcast, Ethan tells a story about him adopting a sick dog that ended up making his entire family sick.
That Olive has Giardia, which is a bacterial infection in the intestines that makes you have diarrhea.
And Olive has this?
Olive has this, yeah. She came to us with it. So she has Giardia, so we have her on an antibiotic, but we had to wait until Monday, which is today. We just got it today. And, Sonny's crawling around. He's putting everything in his mouth. He's at that age. He has Giardia.
Oh, shit. Oh,
And
no.
now Hila has giardia.
Shut. For real?
And now I think this morning I had diarrhea.
Oh my God.
It can go on surfaces and stuff. So, you know, Olive chews everywhere. So, you know, Sonny, it makes sense why he got it. Then once he starts having these crazy diarrheas, like in the middle of the night, all day, all the time he's having these crazy diarrheas, then when me and Hila start having to get in there and changing his diaper, obviously you put him down, you wash your hands as best you can, but these are really nasty diarrheas.
So the reality is that there's nothing super crazy about this story. They adopted a sick dog. The family ended up getting sick. It was messy with diarrhea. I mean, it's just like a totally normal story. But because Ethan and Hasan are engaged in a holy war, a bunch of Hasan's community started overly sensationalizing this story and talking about how Ethan is an awful parent that's just letting his children crawl around in poop and isn't keeping a tidy house. Idubbbz is publicly friends with some of these people. And so Ethan, in my opinion, reasonably set the boundary of like, hey, these people are coming after my kids. Can you, like, say something? Or else we don't want to be friends with you anymore. That's, like, completely reasonable. One of these peoples is Denims, which Idubbbz tries to justify as to why he didn't publicly call her out.
It's just so bizarre that Ethan would expect Anise and I to make a statement when Denims herself already made a statement about it and said that she does not condone calling CPS.
So we're talking about CPS. 1, I don't condone. 2, I've never condoned it, and you will not be able to find a clip of me saying, yes, we should do this, because it doesn't exist.
Denims tries to play this game where she's like, I never actually condoned the CPS call, but the reality is that Denims did everything but explicitly endorse the CPS call.
I do make fun of people's posture. If you're making an active decision that, like, you don't give a fuck about your health or your posture or your dog shitting all over the house to the point where your kids are getting giardia, that's the image of someone who is not well.
Oh, but she didn't explicitly say that they need to call CPS. Oh, she didn't explicitly condone it. Oh my gosh. But she did everything but just saying that, talking about how he's unwell, about how he's a bad parent. Like, what are we talking about here?
He lets his dogs shit all over his mansion, and he just leaves the shit on the floor, something that is probably related to the fact that his former housekeeper is suing him for a number of different reasons. So I would assume he doesn't actually have a housekeeper anymore, or perhaps he lost his extra housekeeper. So now the house is just like covered in dog shit. And he has kids, and his kids like crawl into the dog shit, and God forbid, I don't know what they do with it. I don't know if they eat it or if it's just from like contact with it with their hands or something. But
so here we have Denims reacting to somebody who is, again, overly sensationalizing this whole situation. She has her head in her hands going like, oh my gosh, this is such a crazy thing that I'm witnessing. And then you can see her chat, which is actively calling for CPS to be called. That's child endangerment. Bro, someone needs to unironically call CPS. She's not monitoring her chat at all. Again, if she actually didn't condone it, she would be deleting these. She has moderators. She should be able to actually moderate her community. Now, just to clarify, because people make a big deal about this, yes, the chat on the left is not her live chat. It is a collection of all of the CPS comments put into one little thing so that you can easily see everything that's been said. The chat on the top right is her live chat in that moment. But the collection of chats was taken from a period of 5 minutes. It's still unhinged. It's still not excusable. And in my opinion, it still warrants Ethan being upset. Now, Ethan, because he's such a wonderful, new, progressive, empathetic guy, he decides to victim blame, I guess.
People are quite reasonably concerned. And so, yes, anyone who's seeing that content might be concerned enough to call CPS, including Ethan's own chat, which, by the way, is not a measly number. It's about 26,000 at the time of this stream. So there are 26,000 people listening to Ethan go into great detail over 7 or 8 minutes about diarrhea, viscosity of diarrhea, his child having giardia, him and his whole family having giardia,
They're calling it the poop house. Now, what Ethan does, instead of taking any responsibility for sharing too much on his live stream, is that he decides to attack specific creators like Denims and say she was the source of the CPS call because her chat was reacting to Ethan and saying, wow, this is concerning.
This is actually evil. Idubbbz is trying to compare Ethan Klein's live stream, which he admitted had like 20,000 viewers, and he was only able to scrounge up like 15 comments in the live chat that were, a lot of them were like joking, and none of them explicitly endorse CPS. Whereas you have Denims, who definitely didn't have 20,000 live viewers, and had way more comments freaking out about the situation, and were explicitly advocating for people to call CPS. Idubbbz is either a legitimately evil person, or he's brain dead. Honestly, I can't really tell at this point. Now let's take a look at Idubbbz denouncing all of the racism of his past videos.
I was being very bigoted in a lot of my videos, and I justified it because, you know, I didn't think it was too serious. And I thought that people were going to see that I had good intentions, you know, but that's so silly, you know. Casual racism is still racism. Casual bigotry is still bigotry. And, you know, I said a lot of things that I look back at and I cringe now, and I'm like, that is an awful thing to say.
All right, so let's keep this in mind. Idubbbz believes that using things like racial slurs is not okay, even if you don't mean for it to be racist. He uses the term casual racism. I don't know, I'd never heard of it, but sure, I get what he means. Now, in Idubbbz's content cop on Ethan Klein, a part of the video is him essentially calling Ethan a crazy person and telling him that he's hallucinating anti-Semitism. Which, hey, maybe you agree or disagree with that, but in that same content cop, where he's saying that he's a schizophrenic that's just seeing anti-Semitism everywhere, Ian pulls out a swastika sword. It legitimately does feel like Ian is explicitly trying to gaslight Ethan. Maybe he just did it on accident. Maybe he didn't notice the swastika on the sword. But what's weird about it is that Hasan and Idubbbz refuse to acknowledge that it's a little sus. It's a little weird. It was a mistake.
Listen, okay? This is important. You participated in a video accusing a Jewish man of exaggerating anti-Semitism. You exhibited in that video the most hateful symbol against Jewish people. 1 out of 10 of your swords that you have previously already stated you know is the, quote, swastika sword. So am I insane for even... You're treating me like I'm insane for bringing this up, but it sounds pretty reasonable.
I mean, it's a little insane.
So
yes.
yeah, microaggressions just don't exist for Jewish people.
Idubbbz does a very similar thing where he just refuses to acknowledge that it looks weird.
Now, I don't want to talk about Hasan's sword. I don't want to talk about Hasan's sword hilt because Ethan himself basically admitted already multiple times he doesn't think any of us did that intentionally. And he would be right.
Do I think any of them actually like wanted to put a swastika in the photo? No, no. I don't actually think that. The chances that they did on purpose is close to 0, right? So I'm not accusing them.
I picked up a random sword in Hasan's room that was laying around. That could be the end of the discussion. You don't actually need to debate Hasan about the sword hilt.
He left it up.
Decision making.
If it was a mistake, he could have deleted it.
But I'm not going to delete the photo because that would be indulging in your weird anti-Semitic fantasies.
So, again, let's remember, Ian is against things like racial slurs regardless of the intent because he calls it casual racism. And that's a fine position to have. But for him to not delete posts where he's literally holding up a swastika, trying to antagonize a Jewish man, for him to not view that as casual racism, for him to call that a delusional anti-Semitism fantasy, I mean, it kind of makes me think he's doing it on purpose. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe me and Ethan are just two schizophrenics. And also, Idubbbz deceptively presents these clips. At first, Ethan didn't actually think that they were anti-Semitic, but then as he gathered more information, he reached the conclusion that I think these guys might have actually been doing this on purpose.
I don't even know who that guy is.
That's Isaac from Bleach.
Oh, I don't watch Bleach.
Yes.
And I'm not caught up with Naruto.
This man, I got to tell you, that's pretty compelling stuff.
fan.
8 months ago this was, and since then he's become a big enough fan of this show to buy a tilt with it with a fucking swastika.
What if this...
Yeah, sorry, I didn't actually bring up the context that the sword is from the anime Bleach.
Here he is buying the sword at an anime expo.
I want the normal, this one. The normal one without the... This one's sicker. Wait, that's a little sus.
So he points to the swastika hilt and says that's a little sus.
I have another...
By the way, I just want to be clear about something. You can agree or disagree with Ethan here. You can, side more with Idubbbz when it comes to all the personal drama. But, can we at least acknowledge here that Idubbbz, not including the context of the CPS call, is crazy and incredibly bad faith? Because when you include that context, even if we want to say that Ethan and Elo were being unreasonable, that doesn't make them content cop worthy. That actually makes them pretty sympathetic figures that are just misguided. While Ethan might be incorrect in seeing anti-Semitism with the whole swastika thing, he's not crazy for doing so, and the way that Ian and Hasan are acting about it makes them a little sus.
I've just always had this dumb philosophy that I'm not responsible for, my audience and how they behave beyond what content I put out. And that's stupid, and it's led to a lot of hate and a lot of bad outcomes. And I just want to make it clear that I am absolutely responsible for my audience. And I guess if you want to look out for people who are red flags, it's definitely people who had my mentality that say I'm not responsible for what my audience does,
unless they're going after Jewish people. Then it's fine. Then dog whistles and slurs or hate symbols, at that point it's totally fine if we're talking about Jewish people. Now, ever since Idubbbz stopped doing his content cop and his edgy content, I would argue his biggest claim to fame is probably Creator Clash, which is a boxing event where Idubbbz gets a bunch of influencers to do a boxing match for charity. And it's a pretty fun event. I think it's obviously for a good cause. Never really felt any ill will towards it, to be honest with you. Not that it didn't have its fair share of drama. I remember when Creator Clash 1 came out, a lot of people were upset because Idubbbz didn't want Sam Hyde to box in the event.
We would lose half the card, though. Like, legit, actually. And all the sponsors.
Yeah, I can think of a ragtag group of people that, Sam could probably box with in the future, or an event, that he would probably have to create. And that would be cool. Some crazy event with all sorts of non-brand friendly people. I think that'd be fucking awesome, but it's just not really a discussion for us.
Yeah, we can't entertain it.
That's totally reasonable and understandable. When you're doing an event for Creator Clash that's for charity, you kind of got to keep it brand safe, and there are going to be some, unsavory individuals that you're probably not going to want to associate with it. It's very odd that he had this understanding in Creator Clash 1, but for Creator Clash 3, Idubbbz decided to enter into the holy war of Hasan versus Ethan and turn himself into a Sam Hyde, turn himself into a brand risk, associate with some of the most toxic people on the internet like Hasan Piker and Denims. And because of that, he started to lose boxers.
Hasan, and I knew they were going to be doing a fundraiser with him, but he was like, oh yeah, if you've ever said anything positive about Israel, you shouldn't be allowed to even be a dog catcher. You should be treated like a neo-Nazi. And I was like, hey, my family and friends and my community. No, it's just like this is like the attachment that the event has to these conversations now. Just the things that I'm riffing on and joking about, it has an actual attachment to these type of things because of the people that they, officially put front and center.
That's right. Idubbbz drove away Harley Morenstein from Epic Mealtime. He was one of the headliners. And because he decided to involve himself in this stupid YouTube drama, he ended up pushing away one of the big draws to the event. Another one of his fighters, a girl named Lena Ayad, I think is her last name. I don't know, and I'm not going to look it up. It's fine. She actually works for the H3 podcast, and she also decided to leave.
Lena has dropped out of Creator Clash 3. Unfortunately, she was super excited about it. I was excited. I was nervous. I was scared. But I was excited for her to get her moment to shine. We've already talked about why she's out.
This guy is so dumb that 2 months out from his main event, he decided to start picking a fight with one of the employers of one of his boxers. What? He could have just waited for Creator Clash 3 to happen and then clap back at Ethan. But what Idubbbz did was he reignited a drama that was already growing stale, made it relevant again, attached Creator Clash 3 to the Israel and Palestine conflict, and just made the entire situation incredibly toxic. And now, is Idubbbz going to be a man and just see the thing through? It's probably going to be a massive failure, but hey, let me be a man, let me see this through. Well, I'm bringing it up, so of course they're not.
I'm very proud of the event that we made with Creator Clash. It's still happening, June 28th. I'm just not going to be involved in it. Please, for the love of God, support this event. You know, I feel like in some ways I'm like cutting off an arm so that I could escape the bear trap, and so I can fight. Well, that's a bad analogy.
What is blood yapping about? You want to know a better analogy, Idubbbz? You're like the captain of the Titanic, and you like rammed your boat into the iceberg, and instead of ensuring that all of the other people are able to get out safely, you only prepared one lifeboat, and now you're just like desperately trying to row away from the disaster that you caused. He also pathetically tries to shift the blame over on Ethan and Hila.
Don't worry, Hila. I'm not going to blame you guys for anything Creator Clash related. I know you're terrified of taking accountability for anything, so that will rest solely on my shoulders. But I can't speak for the internet. The internet might actually blame you guys for it.
It's actually insane how much of a Weasley pathetic worm Idubbbz has become. Like, this guy used to actually have an impact whenever he would make a video. This guy was like a boogeyman of the internet, right? Like, oh no, you don't want a content cop video made on you. It's wild that this is where he's at right now. Now, what makes matters worse is that apparently he made the decision to make the content cop and the content deputy and drop out of the event without even telling anybody, like his fighters. Jimmy Wong, who's one of the boxers in Creator Clash, made these posts going into great detail about how unprofessional Idubbbz is and how he just isn't telling them whenever he decides to involve himself into the Hasan and Ethan drama. It's actually pretty wild. So I guess in conclusion, Idubbbz is still just as toxic as he ever was, maybe even worse. Whereas he used to say racial slurs and stuff, I never actually got the feeling that he was racist in any way. Now, it kind of seems like he might be a little anti-Semitic. I don't know. You guys can let me know if I'm wilding out on that one. He's obviously still willing to make content cop videos, and they're more toxic than ever because whereas he used to just be kind of edgy, now he's actively siding with people that are getting CPS called on his friends' houses. Like, what? And worst of all, he's just not funny anymore. If he made some funny jokes, then hey, at least there would be something to gain from watching his content. But now you can actually call his content toxic. He's not funny, and he's just a straight up bad person that's fucking destroying his charity event for no good reason. So yeah, let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Also be sure to like the video, subscribe, do all the things that YouTubers tell you to do at the ends of their videos. Check out my second channel where I talk about like movies and pop culture stuff and not really drama slop content. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.